Happy December 1st, Incline Dodgers fans. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone had a really nice Thanksgiving. Thank you for tuning in live to another episode of the Incline Dodgers podcast presented by TickPick and FanSided. This is Kevin Klein speaking, the home of your 2024 World Series champion, Los Angeles Dodgers. Don't let anyone take that away from us. Your Dodgers are having an amazing offseason. If you haven't heard our episodes regarding Blake Snell, make sure to check that out. Blake Snell's press conference is rumored to be going any day. I think it will be probably Tuesday, if not Wednesday. Maybe a little thoughts on Blake Snell towards the end of this episode. We've got a couple of new rumors we're going to discuss in today's episode. So you'll want to make sure you tune into that. And if you haven't hit that like button yet, go ahead, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you have your notifications on so you don't miss an episode of the Incline Dodgers podcast. Let me know how your Thanksgiving was. Let me know what the highlights were. What's up, Kaylee? Thank you for letting people know to hit the subscribe button. What's up, David Herrera? We have a couple of rumors, which we're going to get to. Showtime LA. Thank you for tuning in. Correa is the best shortstop available. Go get that dude. Well, you're in the right place. We are going to talk about Carlos Correa in just a minute. Bob Student 10, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you hitting the like button and loving all the Dodgers content. The show is geared for you guys. So if you have questions for the show, we'll get to your guys' questions in today's episode. You can drop those questions whenever you feel appropriate or whenever they come to your mind. And if you have other comments, go ahead and drop comments, and we'll try to make this very interactive for the next 45 minutes or so. What's up, Justin Yamas? Correa has a full no trade clause. Any chance he'd accept a deal here? So why don't we get into the first rumor? And it's a very controversial one. It is surrounding Carlos Correa. So that was a dramatic pause right there, because I know there's a lot of Dodgers fans that are very divided on the idea of Carlos Correa coming to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Take it with a grain of salt. This isn't one of the most trusted insiders out there, but earlier this morning, Carlos Correa, former MLB player, great player. He's very linked to the Latin America players, especially Puerto Rico, posted on his Instagram feed that Carlos Correa is potentially on the trade block. This isn't a surprise. The Minnesota Twins are desperately trying to get rid of some salary, and he listed the New York Mets, the New York Yankees, and the Los Angeles Dodgers as potential destinations of franchises that could pull off a trade for Carlos Correa. Now, this is kind of an interesting one because the Dodgers do need a shortstop. They have Miguel Rojas, they have Tommy Edman, but are those the right fits for the Dodgers defensively at shortstop? We definitely do not want Mookie Betts playing shortstop for the Dodgers next season. That would just be very unoptimal for this team. And so if they don't sign Willy Adames, then they could definitely go to the trade market, because I don't think the Toronto Blue Jays are looking to trade a guy like Bo Bichette right now. The Blue Jays are very heavily in on the Juan Soto race right now, and they are looking to compete for the upcoming 2025 season. So I don't think you can count on a guy like Bo Bichette. And if you look around the rest of Major League Baseball, really, what top tier shortstops are out there? The answer is not many. And so when you have a guy like Carlos Correa available, it definitely makes it very interesting for a team like the Dodgers, because Carlos Correa actually does fit a need that the Dodgers have, which is the shortstop position. Now, the first thing we have to kind of take care of business on is, are you guys over 2017? If you're not over 2017, then there's going to be a lot of you right now that are not interested in a trade for Carlos Correa. If you are over 2017, then yeah, you're going to welcome Carlos Correa. So first order of business on my part is, I think a couple years ago, I was pretty desperate for the Dodgers to get a guy that was clutch in the playoffs. I was willing to basically flirt with the devil. And I think a couple times on this podcast with Jake and maybe David, we said, yeah, you could sign Carlos Correa in free agency if the price is right. And ultimately, Carlos Correa agreed to a contract, a massive contract with the San Francisco Giants. Now, the contract fell through because Carlos Correa failed his physical. Then Carlos Correa agreed to a pretty big, but not as big contract with the New York Mets. And then once again, that contract fell through. And so Carlos Correa then became a free agent once again and ultimately went back to the Minnesota Twins, who he had played, I think, 1 year with prior to entering free agency. And now the Minnesota Twins are looking to get rid of some salary. They want to shed the payroll. Makes sense. Small market teams like the Minnesota Twins looking to cut corners at all cost. And so for the Dodgers to be in on this Carlos Correa news potentially, again, Carlos Barrega, don't know how established he is, but I will say when it comes to players, especially from the Dominican, Puerto Rico, I kind of trust his inside a little bit more than pulling something out of his ass, like saying Freddie Freeman is going to sign with the Toronto Blue Jays. So he definitely is missed there. I think Justin Yamas pointed it out. He is hit or miss. So do I buy these rumors that the Dodgers are in on Carlos Correa? I think I'm going to need to see a little bit more before I really have a true thought of what the Dodgers should do in terms of the shortstop position. But we're going to get into it, of course. I'm not going to dance around it. So we're going to talk about Carlos Correa for like 20 minutes or so. If you guys have questions or thoughts about Carlos Correa, definitely will read them and get to your questions in the chat. So first off, let's talk about Willy Adames versus Carlos Correa. Which shortstop do you prefer? Right now, Willy Adames is a free agent, so you wouldn't have to trade for him. Carlos Correa is with the Twins. You would have to trade for him, but we'll talk about what I think the trade would look like in just a couple of minutes. Head to head, I think it's no question. Carlos Correa is the superior player to Willy Adames. Willy Adames was not a good defender last season. I think he had like a negative 16 defensive runs saved, but he did have a career year and popped off with the bat. But even Willy Adames's best year still didn't compare to what Carlos Correa did in a smaller sample size because he dealt with the foot injury uh, in 2024. But he had a massive season. So let's see if I can share this real quick and kind of dive into what I'm talking about here. So let's go to FanGraphs. And so hopefully you can see the page. I can't see the comments right now. So right here in 2024, Carlos Correa played 86 games for the Minnesota Twins and 14 home runs, 55 runs scored, 54 RBIs, not a stolen base threat whatsoever. So clearly base running is not his forte. But look at the ISO. If you don't know what ISO means, it's isolated power. It's basically slugging percentage minus batting average. If you have an ISO in the 200s or higher, that means you have a lot of pop. And for Carlos Correa, 207 ISO is pretty awesome. The BABIP was 343. That's batting average on balls in play. So when Carlos Correa put the ball in play, he was basically a 343 hitter. Actual batting average was 310. 388 on base, which is just second if you look in 2017, which 2017, there's that year again, probably doesn't count, but a 388 on base percentage, 517 slug. Ultimately, his OPS was just a little over 900, which is elite stuff. And then the WRC plus 155, which was on pace for his best of his career. Even though he played 86 games, he put up a 4.3 WAR. So if you were to double his pace, he was basically an 8 or 9 WAR player. So Carlos Correa is basically entering the prime of his career. I know I'm stumbling over my words here, but let me emphasize Carlos Correa right now is age 30. He just posted these numbers. Now, albeit it is a smaller sample size, but when you're 30 in your prime, and when you are on the likes of an 8-9 WAR season, that's definitely something you can't ignore. Defensively, Carlos Correa is above average as well. So I'm just trying to pull up defensively what we're kind of looking at here with Carlos Correa. So advanced fielding. So the peak for Carlos Correa, he had a 20 defensive runs saved. I believe that led to a gold glove and even the platinum gold glove. 2022, still a +3. Then there's some regression, but in 2024, he was dealing with a bad foot. So I kind of have to give him a pass, even if a -3 is not a big deal, especially when you look at his StatCast outs above average. He had a +5. So you have two different metrics, one indicating he was below average, while another is indicating he was above average. So when you kind of look at the big picture here, you're still bringing home an elite defensive shortstop, which is exactly what the Dodgers could use right now. Do you want Mookie Betts playing shortstop for the Dodgers, or do you want Carlos Correa playing shortstop for the Dodgers? If I have to pick between the two, give me Carlos Correa playing shortstop for the Dodgers every single time. So that's just a quick overview of kind of the fan graphs and stats of Carlos Correa. Let's get to some of your guys' questions and some chat, and then we'll dive into the contract of how that looks and how I think the Dodgers can pull this off. So Showtime LA says it makes sense. The Twins are cheap. Moose 1032. What's up, Kevin? What's up, Moose? Bob Student 10. Nolan is an upgrade against Max Muncy, but I like to be loyal to our guys. We'll talk about Nolan Arenado in a bit. What's up, History Man? Thank you for tuning in. Justin Lacambra, he makes us better, so sign him. Love it. David Herrera, forget about 2017. That's in the past. Dodgers are World Series champs. Go get Carlos Correa. Justin Yamas, only thing working against me for Carlos Correa is the injury history. Just keep Carlos Correa away from massage parlors, and I think he can stay healthy. Just looking for new names here. Herman Ohm, giving you a shout out. Correa, why not sign him? It's message. Lots of bandwagon Dodger fans in the chat wanting Correa. Hilarious. Are they bandwagon fans, or are they the fans that are trying to win? So I don't know if that's the right attitude there. We've got Hassam Kim chatting here. I don't want that noodle bat. He deserves to go to the San Francisco Giants. Keep that noodle bat away from the Dodgers. He's also dealing with a bad shoulder. He just had shoulder surgery. So do you really want to deal with that baggage? I don't think so. BC, what's up, BC? Thank you for tuning in. I got to check the Rams score, see how they're doing. I know they were up last I checked, and we've got some Galaxy talk as well. Yeah, go LA Sports. Okay, so let's talk about the Carlos Correa contract now. So let me pull that up and kind of give you guys an idea of what the salary would look like if Carlos Correa were to be traded to the Dodgers. So in 2025, he's owed $37 million. That's a lot of money, especially for a shortstop that kind of has a track record of not staying healthy. So looking ahead here, 2025, 37 million. Then it starts to go down a little bit. 2026, almost 33 million. 2027, almost 32 million. And then 2028, 31 million. So that's 4 years right now where he's locked in, guaranteed to make a very high salary. That's more money than Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and some scrub combined because of the deferrals. And a guy like Mookie Betts also has a lot of deferrals. And with a contract like Carlos Correa, where it's already worked in, the Dodgers aren't going to be in a position where they can defer some of this money unless they work out some type of new agreement. Then there's multiple vesting options for them, to be exact. And I don't want to spend a lot of time getting into these, but for example, for 2029, for him to make, looks like $25 million, Carlos Correa would have to have one of the following: 575 plate appearances the year before. So that's nearly a full healthy season. Finish top 5 in MVP voting, win a Silver Slugger, which he could definitely do. LCS MVP, that's certainly on the table, or World Series MVP. And I definitely want to remind myself to talk about how clutch this guy has been in October. So that's the contract now. Let me kind of talk about how I think the Dodgers could pull off this trade for Carlos Correa. And so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the Dodgers would actually have to give up a lot to pull off this Carlos Correa trade. I think it's kind of the opposite. I think the Twins would actually have to give us stuff in order to take on Carlos Correa. And I guess where it kind of starts to change though is the more money that the Minnesota Twins are willing to eat, then it would change the magnitude of this trade, and then the Dodgers would certainly have to give up more. But let's say that the Dodgers eat the entire contract. I think how this trade would work then is for the Dodgers, they don't have to give up top prospects. You probably throw in the Call of Duty shit talker Gavin Lux in the trade. You would have Gavin Lux go to Minnesota because he's cheap labor. You would probably throw in a pitcher to Michael Grove would be a great trade candidate. Maybe a guy like Landon Knack, Nick Frasso, if they feel like they just can't get anything out of him. But the guys like Dalton Rushing, Josue DePaula, Zaire Hope, River Ryan, obviously he's hurt. Those are the guys that I think are safe. But maybe a team like the Minnesota Twins would bite on Diego Cartaya. And this is finally the opportunity for the Dodgers to move off of Diego Cartaya and put him in this package for a Carlos Correa. It kind of resembles the Mookie Betts situation with the Red Sox after the 2019 season. The Dodgers really didn't have to give up a lot in order to get Mookie Betts. And that's because they were willing to eat half of David Price's contract. We only really gave up Alex Verdugo, Jeter Downs, Connor Wong, and one other prospect, I believe, that didn't pan out. And so I think, honestly, when you look at the Carlos Correa trade, the Twins aren't in a spot at all where they're going to demand these high-priced prospects, because that's a lot of salary. That's a lot of risk for a team to take on. And for a team like the Dodgers, that the payroll appears to be limitless, they can definitely be, as Andrew Friedman says, opportunistic. And this is about as opportunistic as it gets for the Dodgers, barring that these rumors have some validity to them. So I feel like the Dodgers and Twins would definitely match up pretty well to make this trade happen. And so I'm really not worried. Like, you look at the Blue Jays in a Bo Bichette trade, hypothetically, I think Bo Bichette would actually cost more for the Dodgers as opposed to trading for Carlos Correa, because it's not like you're acquiring a guy on his rookie contract in the arbitration years and getting a lot of value. Carlos Correa is making top dollar salary. And so for the Dodgers and the Twins, kind of look back at what the Colorado Rockies did with Nolan Arenado. They basically gave him to the St. Louis Cardinals because they wanted his salary off the books. Same thing with the Arizona Diamondbacks. They basically gave him to the St. Louis Cardinals because they wanted his salary off the books. And I think the Minnesota Twins, another team that isn't known for spending a lot on high caliber players and investing and going all in the offseason, they haven't really gotten very far with Carlos Correa. And so I think this is the perfect match for the Dodgers to take on probably not the entire salary, but a good chunk of it, and then kind of free up the Twins to do their little cheap thing that they do and probably get rocked by some AL East team in the playoffs. And so I feel like it's just a sexy opportunity. That's kind of where I stand on that right now. So I wanted to talk about Carlos Correa's. Let's go with his postseason narratives right now. So what does Carlos Correa do in October? Because I think that's one of the most important things for some Dodger fans like myself. If we're gonna get a high prize bat and be spending a lot of money, and especially one that oftentimes is injury prone, I need to know what this guy does in October. So lifetime Carlos Correa is a 282 hitter with a 352 on base, 508 slugging, 860 lifetime OPS, 18 home runs, 63 RBIs in his last playoff appearance against the Astros. So in 2023, against the Blue Jays in the wild card round, he hit 429 in the ALDS in a losing effort. Carlos Correa had 3 home runs, a 400 batting average, OPS over 1,000, and was just absolute money. In 2021 in the World Series against the so I misspoke. He did not have 3 home runs. He had 3 RBIs. But regardless, he had 1,000 OPS against the Houston Astros in a losing effort. But you just kind of look around what he's done throughout the majority of his career. In 2020, when he was on the Astros, had a 1600 OPS in the wild card round against the Twins, 1700 OPS against the Athletics, 829 OPS against the Rays in the losing effort in the ALCS, and just went off in the 2020 playoffs. And then you look at 2021, ALDS against the White Sox, 1,000 OPS against Chicago in a winning series. Red Sox not as dominant, 724 OPS. And in the World Series, 624, 2021 World Series. But big picture here, 282 hitter in October, 860 OPS, 18 home runs, 63 RBIs. That is most certainly a bat you would feel very good about having in your lineup in October. It's basically like getting another Kike Hernandez, but someone that you can trust for a full 162 games when healthy in your lineup. And on top of that is money in the playoffs. So it's certainly an interesting discussion right now. Is Carlos Correa a logical fit for the Dodgers? I'm still on the fence of whether I think it happens or if it is something I would personally do if I was in the manager seat. But if Andrew Friedman pulls this trade off, and I guess Brandon Gomes give him credit too, I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to boycott the Dodgers. I'm not going to cry on social media and say, how dare they trade for some 2017 Houston Astros player? He's going to ruin the chemistry. The goal here is to win chips, and it's about getting positions that you need. And this is why I feel differently about Juan Soto as opposed to Carlos Correa, because the Dodgers don't necessarily need a lousy right fielder who is a liability defensively that's going to cost probably $700 million the way it's looking out, as opposed to Carlos Correa, who's going to be half the price long term with only 4 years, not 14 years. It's a position that the Dodgers most certainly need, which is the shortstop position. And the guy just has the right attitude, in my opinion. I feel like, yeah, he's kind of a dick, but he wants to win. And that's kind of what the Dodgers need. Now, could it ruffle some feathers? Maybe. But let's look at who's even left on the 2017 Dodgers team. You've got Chris Taylor, who should be DFA'd at this point and probably working grocery stores or some part-time post-game analysis gig. Or you look at Clayton Kershaw, who I think could get past it. Austin Barnes, do we really care what Austin Barnes thinks? I don't think so. And Kike Hernandez, I feel like because they're both Puerto Rican descent, I think they can move past it, become buddies. So I don't think that there's going to be a chemistry issue. Does Shohei Ohtani care about Carlos Correa? Doubt it. Does Freddie Freeman care about Carlos Correa? I don't think so. Freddie Freeman kicked his ass in the World Series to win his first championship. So you look at the Dodgers roster, you got Dave Roberts, who might be appalled, but I feel like Dave Roberts is the best in the business when it comes to getting the Dodgers chemistry right. So I'm really not too worried about the Carlos Correa addition. So I want to revisit the chat. I also want to make sure that if you guys have questions, definitely get your questions in the YouTube chat. I want to answer your guys' questions. I want to read some of your guys' comments as well. And if you're enjoying the content, definitely hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We don't normally talk about controversial players like Carlos Correa, but because it is the hot trade rumor for today, our Discord chat was on it. We definitely wanted to give this some attention just in case it were to happen. And we want to be the first Dodgers page out there that's actually talking about Carlos Correa, as opposed to the boring favorites like Michael Grove and all that. So I'm going to look at the chat right now. And if I missed any questions, I apologize in advance, but I think we're going to start with Brianna LeBlanc. If we do get him, what kind of contract do you think they'll offer him? So I think we've covered that. Carlos Correa is not a free agent. He's still got 4 years left. Showtime LA, Correa is better than all our shortstop options. It's a no-brainer. What's up, Craig Osterberg? Thank you for tuning in. Love Craig, loyal listener. We've got Rams talk. We don't care about that. Let's see. I apologize the delays right now. I'm scrolling through the chat real quick, and there's a lot of other stuff being mentioned. So hepatitis. See you later. I'm all in on Correa if it's true. Despite injuries, he still has good underlying stats. And yeah, speaking of underlying stats, I might as well get to his baseball savant page right now before I forget. That was the last thing I wanted to cover. So let's look at the advanced metrics. This is covering 2024 for Carlos Correa. I see almost nothing but red. So if it's a personality thing and a personal issue with Carlos Correa, that's one thing, and I respect your wishes. I'm not going to judge anyone that doesn't want Carlos Correa because of his Astros past. That's just not who I am. I'm not going to tell you how to fan. But if you're going to put Carlos Correa down because of an inability reasoning, then that's some flawed logic. Look at the batting run value for Carlos Correa. Plus 27, 92 out of 100 grade. Fielding run value. So we kind of earlier we talked about he had a negative defensive run save, but according to Baseball Savant, he is in the upper quarter of best defensive players in Major League Baseball. So we'll definitely take a plus 474 fielding run value. And then you just got nasty numbers like the X slug, the barrel's pretty good, hard hit, average exit velocity looks nice. Doesn't chase a whole lot, pretty disciplined with the bat, walks a good healthy amount too, has a very nice range and a strong arm. He's a little slow, but these are some great underlying numbers for Carlos Correa. And then on top of that, he's coming off a very strong 2024 season where again, he had a 905 OPS, 14 home runs, 310 batting average, only 319 at bats, 367 plate appearances. And you can kind of see that injuries do plague him. 590, 580, 367. But he's got 10 seasons now. He's entering the prime of his career because he's only 30. And so when you look at everything there, it's kind of hard to ignore that this is a very good player that the Dodgers could, if they were interested in, acquire. And I think he would be a very healthy addition. Roy Estrada, how many games has Correa missed the last 2 years? I know we have Miguel Rojas and Tommy Edman, but his character matters as well. Biggest shit talker when they were caught. So I'll challenge you on the injuries part. Now, obviously, Miguel Rojas is way cheaper, but it's not like Miguel Rojas has a track record of staying healthy. And Tommy Edman, he's healthy now, but let's be real. He missed the first 3 quarters of the season because he was coming off some pretty significant surgeries. So they all have their injury issues. The counter is that Carlos Correa comes at a much pricier cost. But personally, I would like to have a guy that is their everyday shortstop. And when healthy, Carlos Correa is definitely that guy. So David Herrera, if Dodgers can get rid of Lux, Grove, Cartaya, and make room on the 40-man roster, that'd be an awesome trade. No doubt about it. Hepatitis, see you later. Making a good point. Carlos Correa on a 4-year contract. That's perfect timing for when Gunnar Henderson enters his free agency. I don't even know if the Dodgers are even looking at free agency that far out. But yeah, Gunnar Henderson, if he's not locked up by the Baltimore Orioles, then he would definitely be a great ad for the Dodgers. But again, that's too far out there. Hopefully the podcast is still going by the time Gunnar Henderson's a free agent. Jack, what are your thoughts that management wants Bo in the off-season free agency? Like they wait like they did for Ohtani. So the first part on that is Bo Bichette needs to have a good season and not another dog shit year like he did this most recent season. Bo Bichette was terrible in 2024. So if he's bad again, I don't think the Dodgers have any interest in that. Mike Lopez, just try to sign Adames. If not, give Freeland a shot. He has the tools to be an everyday shortstop. If things don't work out, we have Jay Vargas and E. Morales as our future gems on the farm. I mean, I'm not against Willie Adames either. I would be very happy if they sign him. The Watcher 818. We better never sign a 2017 Astro. Well, I don't remember if Tyler White was a 2017 Astro, but he was certainly an Astro around that era, and they signed him. And Tyler White was one of the worst Dodgers I've ever seen in my life. Justin Yamas, enough with the Juan Soto slander. We all know Juan Soto is the best thing in this country after sliced bread. Nope, that would be Shohei Ohtani, Justin Yamas. Busy Brown, Juan Soto to the Dodgers was a distraction to get Snell on the low. I don't know about that either, because I think if you've listened to the show all offseason, Blake Snell was always the Dodgers' number one target. They were going to make it happen. And if we have time, we'll get to Blake Snell at the end of the show. Dorobo, if you don't think the locker room makes a difference, you weren't paying attention this postseason. Wake up. The Astros had Carlos Correa on their team for however many years, and they basically were either in the ALCS or the World Series basically every year with Carlos Correa on their roster. Now, they were cheating for a few years, but then after that, they had a pretty deep run in 2020. They got back to the World Series in 2021, and then Carlos Correa left, and they won in 2022. But I don't think Carlos Correa is as big of a distraction as some people make him out to be. Carlos Correa is elite. I mean, name me one former teammate of Carlos Correa that said something bad about him. So if anyone in the chat can do that, I'll change my tune. But from as far as I'm aware, I don't think anyone has ever said anything negative in terms of Carlos Correa, the teammate. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think people rave about Carlos Correa. I remember in the offseason when he was a free agent a couple years ago, the media and insiders raved that Carlos Correa was a tremendous leader, and a lot of his teammates looked up to him. And now with the Dodgers, he wouldn't have to be a leader because they have so many awesome guys on offense and established winners like Betts, Freeman, and Ohtani. For Correa, he just needs to be an awesome role player. Interesting point by Stret KYY. If the goal is to win, then the 2017 Astros did everything right by cheating. Mike Boyer, what's new? I don't know what that means. We are talking about what's new. Raymond Journey, would you give up Dalton Rushing for the Carlos Correa trade? If the Minnesota Twins are willing to eat a very significant amount of that contract, I would consider it. But if the Dodgers have to take on the vast majority of the contract, I don't think it'd be fair for Carlos Correa to be involved in this trade, or Dalton Rushing to be involved in a Carlos Correa trade where the Dodgers are taking on most of the salary. Michael Michelada Poppy, absolutely love. I believe you mean Correa, not Korea, as the player, as the former Astro. I still dislike him, but if Clayton Kershaw is okay with it, then I'm okay with it. Yeah, again, this is going to have to go through some hurdles. I feel like some of the Dodgers players would have to approve this trade. Okay, so we'll put the questions in chat on pause right now. If you guys have questions for the show, feel free to drop questions, or if you have super chats, would love that as well. And I'll make sure to answer as many questions as I can. So I think I'm good on Carlos Correa right now. If you want me to circle back to Carlos Correa, I can most certainly do that. But let's talk about another. It's not really a rumor, but more so kind of just a topic. And that would be Nolan Arenado as a trade piece to the Dodgers. So I'll stop there. First off, what is the chat's overall thoughts on Nolan Arenado? Would you like him to come to the Los Angeles Dodgers? Do you think he's washed? Does he not make sense at this point? So that's the first thing. So the reason we're talking about Nolan Arenado is he posted some photos this morning, a whole camera roll, and I guess where people kind of wanted to build this rumor or some hope up, I guess you could see. The song on Instagram that Nolan Arenado used was Kendrick Lamar's newest hit, Dodger Blue, which is about the Los Angeles Dodgers, of course. Now, obviously, people are going to get attracted to that because, one, it's already been reported that Nolan Arenado is on the trade block. The Cardinals feel like it's time to move on. And then two, I think it's pretty well known that one of the biggest regrets Nolan Arenado probably has in his career is not trying to make himself more available to become a Los Angeles Dodger. He signed a fat extension with the Colorado Rockies. And when you do that, it's pretty much a death wish to never get traded to the Dodgers because the Rockies are never going to help out the Dodgers. And then when he was with the Cardinals, they had a few years of his prime. He had a pretty good 2022 year, and then it all fell apart for the Cardinals. And now he's on the trade block. And the Dodgers and Cardinals most certainly could work something out to become a trade partner. But the issue here is Nolan Arenado said he'd be willing to move to first base in order to help his teammates out and be more flexible and adaptable for his potential new destination. But the Dodgers don't need a first baseman. They've got Freddie Freeman. The second issue now is Nolan Arenado's 33, will basically be 34 by the time opening day rolls around, just a little early into the 2025 season. 34 is kind of getting up there in age for a third baseman. Looking at his stats as a whole, he had a 272 batting average for the Cardinals. Not bad, but a 325 on base, 719 OPS. Not good. And the year before, he had a 774 OPS. And his home runs went from 30 in 2022 to 26 in 2023 to 16 in 2024. So there's certainly some huge regression there. And back-to-back years now, Nolan Arenado has not won the Gold Glove at third base. And I'm not a big Gold Gloves guy, but Nolan Arenado is basically a lock every year to win the Gold Glove. And when we're at the point now where he's not winning Gold Gloves in back-to-back seasons, it's kind of an indication that he's fallen off. And he doesn't have a whole lot of postseason experience, but he has played in 5 series in lifetime. Nolan Arenado's has a 152 batting average, just 1 home run, and a 385 OPS. So Nolan Arenado in October is basically an even worse version of Gavin Lux. And it's a very small sample size, but it's definitely kind of concerning when you've got a guy that now has a few series under his belt and seems to shrink every time the moment gets big. And you kind of look at what Nolan Arenado historically did against the Dodgers. He had some big hits against us. He had some big home runs. But overall, I feel like the Dodgers kind of had Arenado's number. And I feel like that's kind of a knock on Arenado. I don't think the guy, the last few years especially, was able to take advantage of elite pitching. So we kind of had to ask ourselves, would you prefer Nolan Arenado as the Dodgers' third baseman or Max Muncy? And as much as I'm kind of bashing on Arenado right now, I still like him as a player. He had a 3 WAR last season. Defensively, let's see, he had a defensive run saved of +6, which is still pretty elite. But in 2022, it had +19 defensive runs saved. So he's still a pretty good defender. He's still a pretty good defender at third base. But I wanted to kind of compare him to Max Muncy because we kind of have to be honest about Max Muncy. He's on the decline as well. And Max Muncy's 34. So it's not like you're getting younger with Max Muncy. This would be basically a preference of who would you rather have, Max Muncy or Nolan Arenado. And last season, Max Muncy kind of missed the majority of the season. He only played in 73 games because he had a very terrible oblique injury. But when he was out there, he had a 135 WRC plus, which is definitely almost in the elite territory. Defensively at third base, he can be a liability at times, but I felt like overall at third, he was pretty solid. And yeah, the stats back it up. He was a +5 defensive run saved at third base, so only 1 point behind Nolan Arenado. Definitely lags in the outs above average category. But at this point where Arenado's career is kind of headed, you're not gaining a whole lot with Nolan Arenado at third base. It kind of appears to be at this point. So it gets kind of complicated because Max Muncy is just such a great locker room guy. He went on, I believe, foul territory and really hammered home that he was trying to take this postseason very serious and rallied the guys to just focus and watch all the tape and the watch parties and be dialed in. And so I think Max Muncy's leadership can't be underestimated. Now, he did have 2 series where he was a no-show and a non-factor. The Padres, he was irrelevant, and against the Yankees in the World Series, he was irrelevant. But in the NLCS, he was fantastic. He had like a crazy on-base streak, and he had the Mets number. Head for head, I don't think Arenado for Max Muncy makes sense at all. I think the Dodgers would definitely prefer Max Muncy to Nolan Arenado. Now, where this trade could get interesting. Sorry, got Jake Reiner texting me. Maybe he's going to join the show. Now, where this trade could get interesting is what if the Cardinals say, what if we give you Nolan Arenado and someone else like Ryan Helsley? And in exchange, maybe the Dodgers have to give up Max Muncy and a mid-tier prospect. Now we're kind of getting cooking here. Do the Cardinals have it in them to get creative like this? Ryan Helsley and Ryan Helsley and Nolan Arenado for Max Muncy and some prospect that maybe we don't care about. I don't know. That's where it gets a little bit more dicey because Helsley is also on the trade block, and Helsley had a 2.04 ERA last season. I think he was the reliever of the year for the National League. He was lights out, 49 saves, 79 strikeouts, 66 innings thrown. Or is it Sonny Gray and Arenado in a package for Max Muncy and whoever? That's where I think I would get more interested. Head for head, 1-for-1. I don't think I want just Max Muncy. But if the Cardinals are going to throw in another guy that's sexy, like a Sonny Gray or Ryan Helsley, then I think it's maybe something we have to consider a little bit more. So that's kind of where I stand on Nolan Arenado. Him alone, I'm not too thrilled about it. Him and someone else, I'm more intrigued. So we got Justin LaCambra. Arenado would have been nice 4 years ago. Can't argue with that. Justin Yamas, yeah, I'd rather see Arenado at third base, Muncy at second base, Betts in right field, and then Lux at second base, Betts at short, over Lux at second and Betts at shortstop. I would too. I don't know if Max Muncy can even handle second base anymore, though. And I don't think Mookie Betts wants to play right field. I think he's over that. So we're going to get to your guys' questions in chat right now. But just as a quick reminder, if you haven't hit that like button, hit the like button. And I need your subscribes as well. Does the podcast a huge favor because the more subscribers, that means more viewers and more content. History Man 0828. I think Arenado would be a good fit. If it helps the organization become more successful, then it's good. Hepatitis See You Later believes Arenado is washed. 5 years too late. Dodger Blue 909. Let Joe Kelly try to hit Carlos Correa one more time, and then I'll let it go about 2017. Here, what if, well, this actually wouldn't work. Joe Kelly can't come back to the Dodgers. I do not want him back pitching for the Dodgers next season. But if Carlos Correa is on the Dodgers, then I don't want Joe Kelly on whatever team he's pitching for to hit our player. We don't need another Hanley Ramirez situation. So, and also Correa's kind of fragile. So I don't think we can risk that. We got Roy Estrada saying, see you later. Michael Poppy, I think I already read this. Okay. Riggis Roman, love Arenado as a person, but I'm good on us not trading for him. Yang Yi, what about Cody Bellinger or Luis Robert? On the Cody Bellinger front, not happening. I give it a 0% chance that the Dodgers would even look at a Cody Bellinger reunion for 2025. He has dropped off tremendously. He's making way too much money for the little production that he gives. He'd be great defensively in center field, but I just don't think he's the right fit for the Dodgers. And on Luis Robert, I want Garrett Crochet, but I don't think I want Luis Robert. He's very injury prone. He was terrible for the White Sox last season. And a team like the Dodgers would have to overpay for a guy that has had some good moments and a couple seasons where he shined, but for the bulk of his career, he's kind of underperformed. Honey Oats saying, don't trade Jackson Ferris. No doubt about it. Jackson Ferris is entering that territory where he's in the untouchable category for me. Let's see. Steve Aid, not that it matters, but what does Correa's contract look like? We already dove into that, so you'll have to rewind it. I did a kind of deep dive on his contract. So Murakami is going to get posted after the season. He's going to take over at third once Freeman's contract is, or until Freeman's contract is up. We'll see. We will see. I've heard about him. He's an elite hitter. I don't know what the Dodgers see though. Leon J, everyone can make something up and start a new rumor, so these YouTubers have something to talk about during the offseason. Leon J, I'm going to dispute you there. Every rumor we've talked about on this show was not born on the Incline Dodgers podcast. In fact, every rumor that we get, we find somewhat reliable sources. I don't do like the MLB trade rumors, rums, whatever, or MLB One Insider, whatever. No, I used Carlos Barrega, who is somewhat of an MLB insider and has a huge following and has been right before. So that's where the Carlos Correa thing came up. The Nolan Arenado thing is coming up because it is a fact that he's on the trade block, and the Dodgers have been linked to him in the past. So it felt like a very relevant subject. Give the show viewer a shout out since I haven't seen you around before. You can't trust Correa with his injury history. Arenado is better, but is getting older. I would rather stick with Muncy because he's such a key contributor to the team. I can't disagree with you, the show viewer. You made some very valid points. Hey, Kevin, can I get the Discord link? What's up, Aaron Vaughn? Absolutely. Let me drop the Discord link right now. And this is a good opportunity for anybody that wants to join the Incline Dodgers Discord, where we have a very active community. If you want to be like on top of any rumors, anything linked to the Dodgers, we've got a lot of active members that get it instantly. And so that's how I'm able to stay on top of it. And during the regular season, obviously, we talk Dodgers baseball every game. So it's a fun time. If you want to check it out, I dropped the Discord link. And join. And if you don't like it, you can leave. But I guarantee most of you will have a fun time. It's a good opportunity to talk to other Dodger fans. Sam Kim, sorry to sound ignorant, but why do the Dodgers need Carlos Correa? Not a bad question, Sam. You don't have to apologize. The Dodgers need a shortstop. It's as simple as that. Why do the Dodgers need Correa? They don't need Correa himself, but they need an elite shortstop itself. And so if Carlos Correa is the guy that fills that void, then he's a perfect fit, because I'm tired of going into every season with a big hole at the shortstop. I will be damned if Mookie Betts is our shortstop once again in the 2025 year. Can't let it happen. So whether it's Carlos Correa, Willy Adames, or they find someone else that we were not expecting, they need a shortstop at the end of the day. I don't think you can trust Miguel Rojas. And I think Tommy Edman, they want him to be their center fielder. Roy Estrada, how about Tyler O'Neill in the outfield with Teoscar and Edman? 31 bombs in 2024. I like Tyler O'Neill. I think he's a good outfielder. The issue with Tyler O'Neill is I think it would have to be Teoscar Hernandez or Tyler O'Neill. And so I think you put me in a good spot right now to talk about Teoscar Hernandez. So let me give you the Teoscar Hernandez update in a split second. But to finish out kind of your comment and question, we don't need a bunch of right-handers in the outfield. So I think the Dodgers would kind of limit themselves if they had Teoscar Hernandez, Tyler O'Neill, and Andy Pages. I'm going to continue to say it all offseason. I'm under the impression that Andy Pages will be in the everyday lineup for the Dodgers, whether it's center field or right field. So I'm pretty much giving him a check mark. And on the Teoscar Hernandez front, every MLB insider, whether they're legitimate or not. And some of them that are on the more illegitimate side are saying that there's some strong momentum between Teoscar Hernandez and the Dodgers. And we know that Brandon Gomes was one executive that says they really, really, really want to get this deal done. So my guess is that we're going to get the Juan Soto news right around the winter meetings, which is coming up in basically a week. And I would expect Teoscar Hernandez to re-sign with the Dodgers probably within these next 2 weeks, if not sooner. I think this deal is pretty much on the finish line. I think they're just waiting on a couple things. One being if Juan Soto is willing to take a massive pay cut and kind of pull Kevin Durant and join the Dodgers, then unfortunately for Teoscar, and I'd hate it, they'd probably kick him to the road. But so they're going to wait on the Juan Soto contract just in case he picks the Dodgers. And if not, I think it's pretty much in all likelihood, Teoscar Hernandez will be a Dodger next season. I guess we have Astros fans here. Thank you for joining, Astro fans. Scarlet and Blue. So are you saying that the Dodgers are going to trade for Correa? No, I'm saying that the Dodgers could trade for Carlos Correa if the opportunity prevents himself. All right, just kind of going through your guys' comments. I don't think I see anything. The right field pavilion. I'd like to see a package of Arenado and Nootbaar. Bring both SoCal boys back home. A change of scenery will be great for both players. Not a big Lars Nootbaar guy, but he was on Team Japan, and he would have some great chemistry with Shohei Yamamoto and potentially Roki Sasaki when he hopefully picks the Dodgers. Okay, so I love seeing the chat as active as it was. It was tough to get through this one because you guys are just on fire. But we're getting close to the hour mark, so we're at the point now where you got to get your final questions in there, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you guys have. This is your chance to ask me something that's unrelated to these topics. If there's another player you want me to quickly touch upon, or a rumor you wanted me to get more insight on, or something miscellaneous, a holiday, Christmas coming up, food related, I'm throwing everything out there. It's fair game. Get your questions in there, and I'll do my best to answer that. The other little bit of housekeeping I wanted to do real quick is another reminder to please vote in the 2024 Incline Awards. It's the 4th annual Incline Awards where you get to vote and you get to have a say of your favorite Dodgers, favorite moments. We've got some fun categories in there. So I'm dropping the link right now. We'll announce the winners in early 2025 and have some fun with that. Always trying to throw out some fun show content for you guys. And this one seems to do somewhat well. Glad to see a few of you join the Discord. A little worried about one of you though, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so quick touch points. I think we'll do another show with Jake probably in a few days or next week, but shout out to Tommy Edman. Glad they were able to work out that extension. I don't know why people are so upset about the whole deferrals thing. It's just getting kind of annoying at this point. Every team defers money, and when you have an opportunity to kind of be financially smart, then why wouldn't you do it? So Tommy Edman absolutely deserved this extension. We loved him from day one. Just had a great season for the Dodgers. NLCS MVP. I know that there may have been some other content out there that was hesitant with the idea of giving Tommy Edman an extension, but for me, I was on board with it day one. Tommy Edman, 5 years, $74 million extension. Guy has just been awesome. You got to appreciate the versatility. Great clubhouse guy as well. Proven winner now. I'm glad he'll be a Dodger for the next 5 years. Let me get to the super chat. Looks like it's a $50 super chat from the Right Field Pavilion. And my goodness, like and subscribe to the Incline Dodgers podcast. Thank you so much, the right field pavilion. I really hope we can meet up one day at Dodger Stadium, and I'd love to talk some Dodgers baseball with you. Means a lot that you were so generous right now, and appreciate your comments. And I won't forget you. So anytime you have questions for the show or me, hit me up on social media or drop it in the chat below, and we'll make sure to get to whatever you have to say. So you rock the right field pavilion. Thank you so much. Um, Everyone else who's tuned in as well, you guys are awesome too. Appreciate the chat just being blown up today. Um, the show viewers, so you have a question. Do you think any teams are going to blow it up this offseason after Juan Soto is off the board? I love speculative questions like this. So, the show viewer, I do think the answer is yes. So, in my head, I'm just trying to pull together who the main teams are. Here's where I stand. Boston Red Sox, they're going to be massive buyers. So they're going to be in on a guy like Corbin Burns or Max Fried and try to make a competitive trade. So they're going to buy. Yankees are going to buy. Mets are going to buy. Philadelphia Phillies are a team. I don't think you can say they're going to blow it up, but I do think the Philadelphia Phillies are setting themselves up for a massive retool. And it's been reported guys like Alec Boehm are available. Nick Castellanos could be traded. So I think the Phillies are going to make some significant hauls and realign their lineup and get some new faces in there. So I think unless they sign Soto, I wouldn't count the Phillies out. If the Blue Jays don't get Soto, I think they are definitely going to be a team that could blow it up by the trade deadline. San Francisco Giants aren't in on Juan Soto, but again, that's another team that could probably blow it up too. The Giants are a mess. Milwaukee Brewers aren't linked to Juan Soto, but this is another team that they're just doomed to have a huge blow up soon. And Tampa Bay Rays, they seem to be in a position where I think they were linked to Juan Soto too. Wouldn't surprise me if the Tampa Bay Rays decide to just be aggressive sellers and do their Tampa Bay Rays thing. But I think we'll have more information on that question. So you can ask me it again after the winter meetings. I think we're going to have more information on kind of what teams are looking to really shake things up. Justin Yamas, Hollywood Lifestyle, aka Anthony Rendon, was born and raised in Houston. Rigsy's Roman, where do you think Lux goes if he's traded? Hopefully it's Minnesota. So I'm just trying to think real quick. So I was trying to think if there's any other trade rumors that I'd heard about the Dodgers recently. I mean, you can't count out the White Sox. They could definitely be in there if there's a Garrett Crochet or another pitcher involved. St. Louis, I wouldn't rule them out either if they just do Gavin Lux for maybe Ryan Helsley straight up, or Gavin Lux. They say they're not going to trade him, but maybe the Brewers change their mind and Devin Williams gets traded for Gavin Lux, and you throw in the pieces that make it fit. But it's hard to say where exactly Gavin Lux will go because one, nobody thinks Gavin Lux is that good. From MLB organization standpoint, there isn't a team out there anymore that's saying they're targeting Gavin Lux. And the Dodgers kind of have to hedge their bets, and they can't say he's on the block either because then that depresses his value. So they're in a tight spot right now where they need to do something about getting Gavin Lux's value out. And I think that's why they've been kind of ambiguous. BC, you should do a StreamYard episode sometime. BC, you'll have to sell me in the Discord chat why I should do a StreamYard episode. I've been on StreamYard in the past, and it felt kind of archaic to me. So let me know. Let me know why I should do that. AJ Gillett, how do you get over somebody stealing a championship from you, bro? I think you get over it by having the guy that stole a championship from us win us some new championships. The best way to get over the past is by having that enemy make it up to you and start contributing in a positive light for your organization. So I'm not going to, like I've said multiple times, I'm not going to hate it if the Dodgers trade for Carlos Correa. Is he at the top of my wish list? No. I'm not going to be singing at the top of a church either, saying, bring us Carlos Correa, though. Justin Yamas, would Philly be the biggest threat to us if they trade Bohm and sign Alex Bregman? Speaking of former Astros, Alex Bregman is massively overrated. So good luck to any team that's going to overpay for him. Looking ahead to the next season, I would still say the San Diego Padres are the biggest threat to us. And I feel like I said that all year last year on this podcast. I talked about the Phillies and the Padres being the two biggest threats. And I even think I tried to make the case why the Padres were, unless I just am remembering it wrong. And I think Padres were at the top of my list. And I think the Padres are still the biggest threat. We got people talking about Sidney Sweeney. And interesting. Okay. I think we're good now. I think it's time to peace out. So we don't have any more questions. Appreciate the super chat from Right Field Pavilion. And thank you guys all for tuning in. Hopefully you guys had a very insightful conversation about Carlos Correa and Nolan Arenado. And we'll be back whenever, whether something breaks or just to talk about the latest rumors. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Incline Dodgers podcast. And we're in December now. Winter meetings coming up. Dodgers 2024 World Series champions.